What happens when the system brands you a pariah, the living turn their backs on you, and your only path to survival is to embrace the forbidden arts of the grave? Welcome to Path of the Deathless, Book 2, the second gritty, atmospheric installment of OstensibleMammal Dath Well's dark LitRPG progression epic. If you thought the first book was a masterclass in strategic necromancy and tactical survival, Book 2 throws you deeper into the shadows, where the line between hero and monster blurs, and every level up comes with a moral and physical price. This audiobook is a breathtaking expansion of a uniquely crunchy magic system, blending bone-chilling undead warfare, deeply logical progression mechanics, and the relentless, pragmatic brilliance of a protagonist who refuses to play by anyone's rules but his own. The narrative picks up with the protagonist firmly entrenched in the grim reality of his chosen path. The initial shock of integration has faded, replaced by the harsh, unforgiving grind of a world that fears and hunts those who walk the deathless road. The atmosphere is thick with the damp chill of forgotten crypts, the crackle of necrotic mana, and the ever-present tension of navigating a society that views your power as an abomination. OstensibleMammal Dath Well excel at capturing the claustrophobic weight of being an outcast, where every safe zone is a potential trap and every ally is a calculated risk. The world building in this installment expands seamlessly, introducing higher-tier dungeons, rival factions of sanctioned mages, and ancient, decaying ruins that hold the secrets of the original Deathless. At the core of the book's addictive appeal is its brilliantly complex, deeply tactical necromantic progression system. This isn't just about raising mindless skeletons, it's about soul-forging, mana channeling, and strategically optimizing your undead army as a living, breathing extension of your will. Watching the protagonist experiment with corpse-tier upgrades, synthesize bone armor, and chain death magic spells in devastating combinations is incredibly satisfying. The LitRPG mechanics are front and center, treating necromancy not as a dark mystical curse, but as a highly logical, resource-intensive science. The audiobook narration brings these intricate mechanics to life, making the clatter of reanimated bone, the whisper of siphoned souls, and the heavy thrum of condensed death mana feel incredibly real and deeply immersive. But beyond the stats and the summoning, the soul of Path of the Deathless Book 2 lies in its morally gray character dynamics and unflinching exploration of power. The protagonist isn't a traditional hero. He's a pragmatist who understands that in a world governed by the system, survival is the only virtue that matters. His uneasy alliances with other outcasts, his tense negotiations with faction leaders, and his cold, calculated rivalries provide a fantastic counterpoint to his frontline necromantic combat. The supporting cast is beautifully flawed, each carrying their own traumas and ambitions, which makes their loyalty feel fiercely earned rather than handed out. The audiobook format elevates these interactions, perfectly capturing the weary, determined tone of a man who has accepted his role as the graveyard shepherd. As the plot accelerates towards its climax, the pacing becomes utterly breathless. The protagonist is forced into a high-stakes, multi-layered dungeon delve where his tactical mastery of death magic is tested against ancient rotborn horrors and heavily armed paladin squads. The combat sequences are cinematic, highly strategic, and incredibly hype. He doesn't just overwhelm his foes, he outmaneuvers them, using environmental hazards, layered summoning tactics, and brutal, precision-cast necrotic spells to dismantle enemies who vastly outmatch him in raw power. The finale is a massive, dopamine-fueled payoff that redefines his class progression, secures his standing in a fractured world, and perfectly sets the stage for the next, even deadlier phase of his journey. Path of the Deathless Book 2 is a triumph of dark LitRPG progression fantasy. It is smart, uncompromising, and unapologetically gripping. OstensibleMammal Dath Well have crafted a milestone book that proves you don't need to be a chosen hero to conquer the system. You just need to be willing to walk through the graveyard. Plug in your headphones, raise your staff, and join the Deathless. The system fears what it cannot control, and the protagonist is just getting started.